Hey everybody, welcome to Black Span. I know it's been a while, but I've been like bogged out of my mind because I'm like, bro, did the slave trade really happen? Did the transatlantic slave trade really happen? I am so confused. Only because I couldn't find any historical record that wasn't handwritten after the fact. You know what I'm saying? All the slave logs, quote unquote, were lost at sea and they had to remake them. I couldn't find those insurance policies they were supposed to have. I'm like, okay, well, where's the stuff from that time period? And I'm like, I couldn't even find among the museum exhibits that are from, excuse me, that are supposed to be from that time. I couldn't find that either. Like, okay, they found so many wrecked ships and stuff, but where's the good ship, Jesus? Where's that other ship that began with an M? I'm trying to figure out, okay, now I know slavery happened, but I don't think it happened the way they were telling us it happened. I think, and I wish I still had my flash drive. I lost it when I was teaching at a local beauty college, and I did a paper on this like maybe a decade ago. When I was in school, the transatlantic slave trade never existed. And I really broke it down. And now I'm really like, okay, I'm revisiting that ideology because I'm like, I can't find any proof. I couldn't find it then, I can't find it now. You know, and when you read stuff like the Invisible Wars and you study the Chaldean Indians and stuff like that, you kind of realize there was no transatlantic slave trade. There was a slave trade that happened in Africa. There was an Arabian slave trade. There was a German slave trade where they enslaved people that looked like me all over the world. But I don't want to say isolated because they jumped us. All this shit happened at one time. But it was more so geographical as opposed to being transatlantic. Transatlantic is to cross by definition. So I really do believe that we were POWs. We were prisoners of war. That's the only thing that can explain it, like logically. Logically. You know what I'm saying? And this brutalized version of slavery was only created so that we don't rise up and beat that ass again. Because I'm just like, why lie? If you subjugated us successfully and beat our native tongue out of us and had us giving in to your free will, even our children, even if you killed the elders and the warrior class, you had our children at birth, you know what I'm saying? And nothing. And then when you read I read the Constitution and stuff. When I read these legal documents where Andrew Jackson said you can't bring any more slaves from anywhere else, I realized he was talking about white indentured servants. You can't bring no more white trash over here. We have filled our quota. And every great migration, or whatever you want to call it, like Ellis Station, for example, it's always been poor white trash from other countries. You see what I'm saying? And like, I'm just trying to figure out, how did they make this great voyage from here to all these other continents? And then what did they do with all the indigenous people here that look like me? Because when they say copper color aboriginal or indigenous person, I don't like the term aboriginal because of phonically what it means. But when they say copper color indigenous person, we think of the commercialized version of an Indian as being copper. But that's not what copper looks like. If you actually, even Google, y'all love the Google. When you Google the original penny, before they start mixing copper with aluminum to stretch it out, regular copper was as dark as me, if not darker. You see what I'm saying? So when they say a copper colored aboriginal, they mean a dark one. If you Google old pennies, those pennies don't look like that because they're aged, old, or tarnished. That's the original pigment of that penny. And I love karate movies, y'all. My bad. Turn it down. Ooh, Samurai Jack. Nah, I'm not watching that cartoon, but this little boy is beating the shit out this white man. But anyway, so and I even have my daughter doing a paper on it now because I want to see if she comes up with the same shit I came up with. You know, like, what the fuck? So we'll just stick with one book. I've read plenty. I said one book, brother man. But The Invisible Gullah Geechee. I ordered it again for my daughters. I read it a long time ago. That book got lost. When y'all remember that last video, like 5-6 videos ago, I was crying. Well, I didn't cry with y'all, but I told y'all I was crying because I lost a whole collection of books that I had stored in my mother's house. They got really damaged. And the Invisible Gullah Geechee Wars is one of them. You know, all my notes and stuff from college. You know, my Black Laws book. I lost a lot of books. I don't want to revisit that because it still hurts my soul to this day. You'll never know pain until you have lost a book that have notes in it. Your notes that you wrote, that you looked up. Anyway, so not only can we find any physical historical reference, when you visit these museums, which I have as a youngster, there are replicas. They're all made up in that time. Like, I thought my dogs was coming downstairs. They are all made up like in the 70s and 80s and replicas. And I'm like, okay, well, where did you get the original model from? If you made this replica, where's the original model? Where's the original model? Because when I look up when ships and stuff were created and invented, you know, the timeline just does not add up. It's like you have to break down slavery by a section and then look up each thing about slavery. And when the transatlantic slave trade in particular. And when you look up each solitary thing, such as ships, when was sails invented? When did they streamline boats? You know what I'm saying? When did they go from sailboats to ships? When did they go from ships to mechanized ships? You know what I'm saying? When you look up the history of flotation devices, the shit just doesn't add up. The years don't add up. And I'm like, God damn. So, and even in ancient times, when they show like Africans traveling across land and stuff, no, they were traveling from country to country within their same continent. Oh my God, blew my fucking mind. So I'm just like, okay, let's go back to the Gullah Geechee Wars and Stone Oak rebellions and all this stuff that they call rebellions that I call battles that took place in the Great War. Number one, the first continental president was black, right? He was an indigenous Geechee man, looked just like me. What was his name? Henry Thomas. Y'all know I'll be coming off the dome with it, but let me go and get some particulars for you. Hey Siri, who was the first president of 13 colonies? Let's see if this bitch tell the truth.
Here's an answer from worldatlas.com. The colonies declared independence, and on April 30th, 1789, George Washington was declared the first president.
He was the first president of the United States, not of the 13 colonies. Isn't that something now? Siri, you in on it, bitch. Okay, so let me go to Google. Let's see if Google gonna lie. I don't have Google on this phone. Okay. Oh, shit. Close that. Go. We're just gonna go plus Google here. Microphone. The first president of the 13 colonies. Go. Okay, John Hanson. Right here, see? Y'all like Google shit. I like books, but can y'all make that out? I don't know who would I have to click on. I'm not good at this. Y'all know I don't even edit. Okay, 1781. Okay, so remember how I told y'all that the original slaves, the indentured servants that came here, because they make it seem like this land was primitive and we was living in teepees and shit. Now we did have and tents and shit. I found out that wasn't even the case. We had been building things to live in. You know what I'm saying? Except for we used what we would equate to leather now and what we would equate to boar skin, bones. We use things like that to make these these houses. You know what I mean? Very rarely did we use wood because we use that for weaponry, bowls, stuff like that. We use leftover bark and stuff to make like shingles. You know what I mean? But anyway, I found that out in a lot of the books that I read about the quote-unquote slave rebellions. Anyway, so I explained to y'all in my $5 Indian video how they divide and conquered us by coming in, fucking our women and raping them, and whichever took place, procreating with them, either by force or by willingness, and then separated the red man from the copper man. Separated the red man from the copper man, then told the red man he was better than the copper man, and so on and so forth. And then they separated us, it fought us, enslaved us, captured us. We were prisoners of war. And then, then they went in on the red man, and all the land allotments they agreed upon, they fucked them off. So now when the way that John Hanson became president, which is a black man of the 13 colonies, was that they helped the indigenous people here. Now, if we were all primitive living in tiki huts, you know what I'm saying? How were we able to do this? The indigenous people here helped them fight off their British monarch and helped them free themselves from persecution and rule from, who was it, King George at the time? Or was it his daddy? I'm not sure. I gotta go look it up again. But I said daddy, like, oh my God, shut up. So that's how he became president, because they were so grateful. And then during that time, they gave them, hey, this is where you could, this is the indigenous man here. Letting them help free them from their monarch that they was escaping from. Gave them refuge here, refugees that immigrated, immigrated immigrants that were looking for new residents here, refugees. We helped them out, gave them places to stay. And during that time, they built up contention and jealousy like they always do. Just like during the 700s, when the Moors basically ran Spain, and for those what, 500-600 years, and taught them people how to bathe. Like when you see the pictures in historical time of black women bathing white women, it wasn't that the black woman was the white woman's slave. It was that the black woman was teaching her how to wash her fucking underarms, how to wash her goddamn coochie. You know what I'm saying? How to take a bath. We was showing them, no, clean it, pick that shit out of there and scrub it. You know what I'm saying? And this was depicted in paintings back then because there were no photographs. Speaking of photographs, how come all the photographs from slavery were taken after the event occurred? You see, I'm saying, okay, a peep game. Okay, let's see. When did invent the camera? Okay. When was the first camera invented? Okay, so peep game now. If the first camera was invented in 1885, pause. Okay, keep that in mind. 1885. Now this is just on Google. This ain't got to do with all my books I done read. 1885, right? The first camera was invented. Pause right there. When did slavery start in the New World? You gotta be particular when you Googling shit. You can't say America. Okay, so 16. It was a little bit before this. Let's see. So they say 1619. We'll go with 1619. So how do you have pictures of all this slavery if the camera wasn't invented yet? That means this shit is staged, right? I'm just saying, just on a superficial common sense level. How do you have all these pictures of these enslaved Africans? We talking photographs. How do you have pictures of these whipped backs and this blood? And how do you have these pictures? They're all staged reenactments of the propaganda they put out there, because they know they stole our land. They know we were beating their motherfucking ass. They tried to kill us off. The shit didn't work, so they had to kidnap our minds because they couldn't kill us all. So they had to kill our mind and our sense of history, which is why the census, for example, that took place in the late 16, early 17, no, in the mid and late 1700s, the first census that was ever taken, because they had to count how many people, it was us against them, how they had to count how many motherfuckers they had left. Let's tell the truth about why they took the census. So, and that was racist in itself, because they went from being Indian, free people, colored people, to all being black. You couldn't even use my color. You couldn't even say you was Indian no more by the 1800s. So anyway, the original census record burned to the ground. All of a sudden, anything that could peace and friendship treaties, they don't have that original document no more. Well, they have it, but they say it burned. Everything is burned. Everything is gone. Nothing is here, right? And see, this is my theory on all the lynchings that took place after Reconstruction. See, I think that they came up with this plan. Follow me now. This is hypothetically a conspiracy theory, but is it really? Is it really? So this is what I'm thinking. The reason why all those lynchings and stuff took place of our Aboriginal, our indigenous ancestors, is because they were gonna put out this new doctrine. Just think about it. Number one, kids had to walk 5-6 miles to be educated anyway, to go to school anyway. And if the teacher is putting forth, this is why I have a problem with Roe versus Wade and all that. Let these black people go to these white people's schools anyway, because at least the black teachers was able to tell the truth. But anyway, so during that, before the first, okay, come with me now, because I did all this in college. I'm gonna do it again, because like I said, I lost my flash drive. Let's see the first year. What's the people that wrote the history book? Something Merle. What's the people? Oh, okay. Peep game. What year was the first public school history book written? And I'm on my desktop version, so I have to click. Here we go. Okay, so the first schools originally opened in the 17th century. Boston Latin schools was founded in 1635, and both the first public schools, oldest existing school in the United States. First public school, I know I need the first public school history books. I'm coming, y'all. Textbook. Okay, 1841. Elementary schools adapted history, 1841. First American history textbooks. Okay, so 1831. I'm sorry, 1841. I had to do like this. I ain't got my glasses. Let me get my goddamn glasses so I can fucking see. Leave me alone, okay? Everybody wears glasses, okay? They fucking up our eyes. I don't know what they doing to us, but they fucking them up. And they doing it on purpose. You know, it take 2 hands to put on glasses. Leave me alone. How did the TV cut off? I must have been watching it for 3 hours. I be putting myself on the time limit. Anyway. So, okay, yeah. So, 1841. Okay. I just ordered me a new book on Reconstruction. Okay. When did Reconstruction end? Even though we know that bullshit ended before it even got started. Reconstruction. 1860. So there's a 20-year gap there where they was educating their kids. So just think about it. All the lynchings started taking place right after the Civil War during Reconstruction, right? Probably, really, even before that. I'm just saying, as far as on a mass level. Of course, they was lynching they runaway POWs and stuff like that. They were trying to run back home to their camps and stuff. But like I said, go check out my video, You Are Indigenous, Not African. If we running away from our captor, how do we know where the fuck to go? We from a whole different continent. How the fuck we even know how to grow and irrigate cotton if we from a different continent? Cotton don't grow in Africa. That's not one of their resources. So anyway. Let's come back to my point here. So my theory about the lynchings is they was killing people because they was gonna put out this false doctrine,